What if the truth about Tevat wasn't buried beneath the earth, but flowing quietly in the abyss, waiting for the right moment to surface? Hey guys, what's up? Aru. From the fall of Khaenri'ah to the mimicry of possible Abyss gods, the new Archon quest introduces things that we've only heard from side quest lore and pushes it front and center. Skirk is finally here, and with her a chilling revelation. This world and the sky might be nothing more than a veil over what she says is the real universe, teeming with life but also with death. A far more dangerous enemy within space itself that we inevitably cannot run from. In today's video, we'll be breaking down the latest lore developments revealed through the new Dainsleif and Skirk quest and the 5.7 special program. We'll cover the fall of Khaenri'ah, the implications of the Loom of Fate, and what the Abyss sibling is trying to accomplish 500 years after the Cataclysm. We'll also look into Skirk's role, how her investigation into the Abyssal mimics ties into the deeper corruption affecting Tevat, and analyze how Abyssal powers are being disguised as elemental abilities. Plus, we'll examine the newly revealed region of Necry, its historical ties to the Tsaritsa and the Wild Hunt, and what it tells us about the true nature of the Abyss and Celestia. From Abyssal parasites to cosmic tech like the supposed spaceship of the Traveler, there is a lot to unpack, so let's get into it, shall we? Doomsday marks the fall of Khaenri'ah, which is the Cataclysm, and the moment when pure-blooded citizens were cursed with immortality while half-bloods were twisted into hilichurls. Multiple scenes tied to this event show not only the Sustainers' signature cubes, but also the drifting souls of Khaenri'ah's dead, some corrupted with the Abyss, while others still pure, echoing the similar imagery of the souls from the Night Kingdom. Interestingly, these flashbacks includes glimpses of the Traveler in Khaenri'ah themselves. One notable shot even shows the feet of the MC sibling, hinting at when the Traveler was physically present during the Cataclysm. A new Khaenri'ah girl is also introduced. Her eyes share the same diamond-shaped irises as Dainsleif and the other Khaenri'ahs, but the color leans to purplish red rather than a deep blue, suggesting a possible mixed heritage or a different lineage altogether. Maybe she could also be from the dynasty known as the Crimson Moon Dynasty, which could explain why her eyes are reddish-purple, connecting to the color of the Crimson Moon. Moving on, outsiders likely refer to the Travelers when they ended up in Khaenri'ah 500 years ago. Since we came to Tevat by accident and fell on a shooting star, we are of course branded as outsiders of this world, but being outsiders also means that Khaenri'ah is familiar with descenders like us, and the terrifying power we have to change the order of the world. However, the book parent Harry once mentioned that Khaenri'ah was searching for descenders. I guess now in the Eclipse Dynasty and the now Abyss Order, they didn't want descenders anymore. Next, the birth of a savior is the carrier of the Abyss after Khaenri'ah's fall. Clothar from the Caribert quest mentions that the one who controls the Abyss controls everything. And that has been the mission of our sibling as the princess or queen of the Abyss Order. And their plans to use the already functioning and finished Loom of Fate is already in motion. The Loom of Fate is a central operation of the Abyss Order, first introduced through Clothar's claim that his son, Caribert, had become the Loom after being imbued with abyssal power. But it was first mentioned by Dainsleif in our very first quest with him. The Loom of Fate grants him the ability to rewrite his destiny. Initially, the term referred to the Abyss Order's attempts to construct a mechanical god, a project in development long before the Traveler's arrival in Fontaine. Following the destruction of the divine throne of Hydro, the Loom's functions also shifted. It's now understood as a device capable of weaving its own ley lines into Tevat, essentially rewriting reality at a planetary scale. While incomplete, it had the ability to manipulate memories as seen when Caribert used it to create false memories in Sumeru. However, once nearing completion, that function was lost and also Caribert, suggesting the Loom's role escalates from personal illusion to global reconstruction. Currently, the Abyss siblings seek to fully activate the Loom before the Heavenly Principles can interfere, whenever that may be. Her personal missions appear to ally with the Abyss Order, not out of loyalty, but because the Loom offers a way to create a specific moment in space and time, one crafted just to meet the Traveler again, which we'll talk about later. The Abyss Order is now in Natlan. Not only does that mean that there's another war in Natlan, it also shows that Natlan is the new objective of the Abyss Order, particularly in Natlan, where Khan reopened the Abyss upon the region, but is also where the Abyss can easily enter through, and probably has something to do with Gosoy thought in the recent war with the Abyss. This Dainsleif quest now includes other characters from Natlan as well, including the Archon herself, which is rare since Dainsleif doesn't interact with Tevat and its people. The closest similarity to this was the first quest in Mondstadt, where Dain was in close proximity with various characters, including Venti. Dainsleif's Abyss powers look like blue pyro, but it's probably just straight up Abyss powers since he doesn't really care or mind if people see him using the Abyss compared to Skirk. He can also be seen dispelling Abyssal pylons using a similar symbol to his cape, which is a cool showing that the Abyss Order and Dainsleif use the same Abyss magic that Khaenri'ah uses 500 years ago. Next in the trailer, we see the Traveler holding what looks like a key. While Paimon mentions a spaceship that brought them to Tevat, the design of the key oddly resembles Firefly's transformation tool from Honkai's Star Rail, hinting at a deeper connection to spacefaring technology. If this is in fact a key to the spaceship of the Travelers, then this moment supports the idea that the Traveler siblings didn't just fall into Tevat, they crash-landed instead. There are two main possibilities here: the ship belonging to the twins before they entered Tevat, or that it's Skirk's spaceship, linking her origins to the Abyss or outer space. With Tevat's sky confirmed as fake and artificial, the idea of ships traversing the cosmos isn't new, just new to the people of Tevat. And while this may seem like a revelation, hints of space travel have existed since 1.0, from Clay's rocket to the Hexen Circle's cosmic rituals, all the way to Natlan's ancient dragon ships, which existed way before the era of the Seven. So this scene might just confirm what the lore has been whispering all along and is putting it right in front of us in an Archon quest. Next in this special program, we see the Abyss sibling holding what looks like a glass scroll, likely the Loom of Fate. She mentions not wanting to miss the chance to reunite with the Traveler, specifically 500 years in the past. This lines up with the patch title, A Space and Time for You, which isn't just poetic, it's actually quite literal. It implies that the sibling has created a specific moment in time to finally speak with us directly. Something we previously thought only the god of time Astaroth could do, but with the power of the Abyss, anything is possible. Unlike previous encounters where we could barely interact with each other and even losing memories, this new meeting seems to be fully tangible, where memory, touch, and dialogue are all possible. The translations in Chinese, Japanese, and Korean reinforce this, rendering the title as The Space and Time Where You Are, further suggesting a constructed moment for real and meaningful contact between the two siblings. The device that seems like it could be the Loom of Fate also seems to be merging pieces of reality, much like when we traveled to A and Raiden Shogun's domain, and how Caribear's domain broke after we met our sibling. So this might be how the Abyss sibling brought us here and how she plans to speak with us properly. But this also brings up the question, does that mean that the siblings aren't allowed to come in contact with each other because something could go wrong? But how about now in 5.6? How can they interact without messing up whatever cosmic order is underway? Well, interestingly, the NPC we speak to in the scene might not be a real person from 500 years ago, but a fabricated reflection of our sibling. Her appearance mirrors Lumine's, but with a reversed features, but with slight alterations. This could be how the sibling communicates without fully using the Loom's power and without actually interacting with their sibling. But then again, only having a Lumine lookalike means that we would need to see an Aether lookalike too, unless the special program hid that detail until we actually get to play the patch. She also says that we will begin anew at the end of our journey, which may tie into Tevat's cyclical nature or samsara and suggest a decision point once the Traveler completes their journey across all regions. If you could still remember Travail, Dainsleif's closing remarks also mention this too, hinting at a final confrontation with both him and the sibling is inevitable.
Now, you who has set foot in this world. Your journey has reached its end, but one final doorway remains. Step forth if you have understood the meaning of your journey. Defeat me, command me to step aside. Show me that you are worthier than I to rescue her. Then, the threads of all fate will be yours to reweave.
Within the trailer, Skirk reveals that something is actively leeching power from Tevat, a force that closely mirrors the parasitic Abyssal Papilias, which drain energy from the land and can mimic anyone or anything. This isn't just a threat. It's a form of abyssal corruption designed to infiltrate reality itself, and creating a false reality, but instead using the Abyss. We also get to meet Skirk initially in Liyue, and then end up in this abyssal domain, probably somewhere near or inside the chasm, where we get to share a communication device similar to her headpiece. She also says that she'll be helping us cure or cleanse the abyss nightmares that we've been having, which might be a case of abyss corrosion syndrome from Natlan, but this time in Liyue, and is a special case for the traveler. Interestingly, Skirk and the Sinners, while Abyss-affiliated, seem distinct from the invasive force of the Abyss. They wield abyssal power but aren't part of the world-consuming corruption spreading across the vat. Instead, the Sinners resemble a chaotic neutral counterpart to the Hexen Circle, who themselves act more as a lawful neutral manipulators of fate. This also suggests that the Abyss isn't a single monolith of powers, but a fractured ecosystem of powers, agendas, and ideologies, depending on who uses it and what their motivations are. With Skirk somewhere in the middle, being into Vat and seems to be between Celestial Law and Abyssal Power, which you might have noticed from her drip marketing and her music. The trailer also features the voice of who seems like Alice, while the Node Cry animations also include Nicole, confirming that the Hexen Circle are and will be involved in the current and the next storylines. Alice's presence makes sense, especially given her past involvement in summer events and her ties to major magical happenings within the world. One line in particular that she seems to have mentioned, "Her existence can no longer be heard," likely refers to the new Khaenri'ah girl shown in the trailer, who only appears briefly and may not persist beyond this memory space. Which means that in this quest we are again in another possible dream or a pocket in time. It could also relate to another character connected to Dainsleif's quest. So far, Alice and Dainsleif only reference each other indirectly through trailers and promotional material. But with both now appearing in major questlines, this might be the patch where they finally meet on screen as well. Skirk's abilities originate from the Abyss, even though they appear as elemental cryo during combat. This disguise is actually intentional, a way to mask her true nature and blend in while operating within Tevat. Her attack patterns and style also draw visual parallels to characters from Honkai Impact 3rd, suggesting a shared design influence across Hoyoverse titles. The Seven Shifting Serpent, an entity tied to constellations in this storyline, similarly uses Abyss powers despite presenting them with a false elemental aura. This supports what Clothar once stated, that abyssal power is flexible, capable of mimicking any force. Moving on, Skirk's current quest appears to center on investigating a mimic, a false entity created by the Abyss, likely Gosoithoth being recreated and the corruption that it spreads. It also acts as a continuation of her journey, previously hinted at in the finale of the Deep Artifact set, where her master Certology guided her path. The lute or guitar that she carries is likely the same one featured in her now removed YouTube short, with the song possibly sung by a younger version of herself. The Certology that we encounter isn't actually the real one, but a replica created by the Abyssal Force and possibly Gosoithoth. Similarly, the Narwhal boss faced in this quest is also a mimic, a dark coloration contrasting the original light blue version, confirming its hostile abyssal origin. Another thing to note is that Skirk's shield resembles the classic defense spell from Frieren, possibly a visual homage. Skirk also makes a key statement that we will one day return to the real universe. This suggests that Tevat does exist under a false sky, and when it's finally broken, we'll see the abyss-filled cosmos beyond. And that moment would not just introduce the truth of the world, but also space travel, alternate worlds, and the deeper cosmic layer involving descenders and the full scope of the abyss or outer space. Moving on to the Node Cry and cinematic, many scenes that appear Fontainian are actually set in Node Cry, a region that's visually similar to Fontaine, but even more fragmented and weathered. The purplish moon you see here is also similar to the purple moon that the travelers see during the quest where we meet our sibling, as well as this scene here where we can see Skirk and a purplish background in the sky. Among its strange features is a Seelie-like ghost resembling Pom-Pom, adding to the crossover aesthetics. Node Cry has been under constant pressure from multiple factions since its founding. Once peaceful forests, now crawling with the heavily corrupted abyss creatures tied to the Wild Hunt. The Frostmoon Scions reside on the Hisi Island near a massive stationary moon, likely the third frost moon which stopped moving long ago. The presence of stags and elk near it involves a Celtic symbolism of moons and rebirth. Two elegantly dressed figures also appear nearby, possibly the Tsaritsa and the first Cryo Archon, the Bel Yitzhar, from long before the Cataclysm happened. The Lightkeepers' strongholds are visually deteriorated, mirroring their dwindling numbers in their fight against the Wild Hunt. The structures scattered across Nodecry also seem to serve as outposts, positioned along critical paths, which are always under threat from the Abyss. Next, the Snowland Fae are confirmed to be elves, survivors of a royal class from the Belyet Tsar's reign. Once participants in Snezhnaya's palace councils, they now hide in the peaks of Nodecry, longing for the ancient frostlands of Hyperborea and the legacy of the first Cryo Archon. Following them, the Fatui, still determined to reach the false sky and challenge Celestia, continue their efforts in vain, as the sky itself is laced with abyssal corruption. Their Nodecry stronghold appears at the end of the special program, a mobile fortress led by Dottore and his moon studies, accompanied by a new trio of skirmishers, a cryo cannon user, a great sword wielder, and a dual gauntlet fighter, which is a first for the faction. The Knights of Favonius under Grandmaster Varka are also part of this unfolding battle. His expedition includes elite knights and even Jean and Barbara's parents. Varka bears a striking resemblance to Aventurine and is said to have politically active older sisters. Lastly, the Hexen Circle is said to bring a magical charm to Nodecry, a comical magical presence that hides their real influence. Although their tone is seen as light, they're actually subtly interacting with Tevat's fate. One of the witches may actually be the legendary Voyager, once a girl who entered Tevat disguised as a boy. Finally, Nicole narrates the entire Nodecry cinematic and is last seen sipping tea. The rabbit-like Seelies resembling Pom-Pom is also likely her, fitting the recurring allegory of Nicole as an angel turned guide. And there we go, my thoughts and theories on the 5.7 special program. Now with this patch, the story takes a major step toward revolving long-standing mysteries about the Abyss, the fate of Khaenri'ah, and the Traveler Twins' original mission. Skirk's storyline also continues to position her as a key figure in confronting abyssal corruption, and the Loom of Fate might be our first real look at a tool capable of reshaping timelines, similar to Isaroth, the god of time. The increasing crossover between abyssal, elemental, and technological space forces suggests that Genshin's endgame will be as much about cosmic and outer space history as it is about the 7 nations and just Tevat. If you've got some thoughts on the Loom of Fate, Skirk's role, and the origins of the Abyss, drop them down in the comments because there will be more patch analysis and lore breakdowns on the way. So subscribe if you haven't already, that way you'll get to hear more of my ramblings. Anyways, thanks for watching, I'll see you guys in the next one, and stay mad theorists. Bye!